Hi, good evening, and welcome back, and thanks for joining us on this Friday, wrapping up an exciting week of what we hope will be an even more exciting weekend of basketball, donning the blue and green. Blue trumps the green. Nevertheless, at least in Kentucky, it does. Nevertheless, we're going to leave you for a night of basketball. I assume if we can, of course, stay awake that long, that will be a chore for myself. That'll be a chore for a lot of law enforcement officers who were out throughout most of the night. And I've got a couple of reports coming from their investigation, several arrests that relate to a case that began with a stolen trailer and some goods and has led the sheriff's department over the course of, or over McGoffin and Breathitt and possibly some other counties. And then it culminated in some arrests. Last night, two men tried to flee out the back of a home. One of the men's mother was arrested, and it goes on and on and on, and we'll get to that in just a few moments. I'm actually going to have to hold off some headlines for next week, and some of those headlines tonight, at least, will be indictments returned by a Johnson County grand jury this week. I do have one to report to you tonight. Full day in the newsroom, and just around the time to start producing the show, to get it ready to produce at least. A serious auto accident took place on Route 40, and I was on the scene of that for quite some time. It was kind of an all-hands-on event for first responders and myself, for that matter, not just behind the camera. And we'll take you to the scene and tell you what I can in that regards in just a few moments. But nevertheless, time crunch to get back in and get together what I can at this point. We'll have a host of news and information, and I've got a lot to pass along to you. A burglary that's being investigated, and a lot of very expensive items taken, some which should be easily traceable, and a big reward for at least one of those tonight. So a lot to talk about, a lot happening this weekend and early next week as we look ahead. It all starts right now in just about 60 seconds or so after these messages.
To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband.
One of our top stories tonight centers around the theft of a trailer that was loaded with some other items stolen in Salyersville, and how that investigation led authorities across this county, across at least one more, and to the Route 30 area last night. Before I get to that, though, while covering that, I learned of a burglary that's taken place in McGoffin County, and I've spoken with the Sheriff's Department as well as the property owner in regards to what took place. I spoke to Ronald Ritt earlier today, and one of his residences was burglarized sometime over the past few days. He hadn't been there. Residence on what I refer to as the Richard Williams farm on River Road, if you will. And over the course of the last few days, he says that someone, after he left the home on Saturday, broke in. He found it upon his return. The home is on Lakeville Road or River Road, and a lot of items were taken. Guns, at least one high-powered rifle, at least one flat-screen TV, and maybe even some more. The largest item and easiest to trace or recognize would be an orange Kubota side-by-side. This is a diesel side-by-side with the cab. They even, being the thieves, went so far as taking the electric service out. They cut the wires from the residence, and they're still trying to tally what was taken and the damages that were done. Right now, Ronald Ritt has offered a $1,000 cash reward for information leading to the arrest of the individual or just to the recovery of the Kubota side-by-side. So if you have any details, may have seen something, more often than not, someone steals something like that, they're trying to get rid of it for just a few pennies on the dollar. That might be how you can find some information, but nevertheless, the $1,000 reward is being offered. If you have any information, you can call Mr. Ritt at 496-5848. That's 5848. You can also contact the McGoffin County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Carson Montgomery, as well as Deputy Reggie Gosser, who is also on the case. But a lot of items stolen. We'll have more of a detailed list for you next week, as they're still trying to put it together. But should any of those things come across your path or any information, it could be worth $1,000 to you. Sheriff Carson Montgomery now tells us about a theft that began in Salyersville. A trailer stolen from near a Salyersville residence, on it several items, and how he actually discovered the trailer before he knew of the reported theft of that trailer. It all started at the Elk Creek BP just earlier this week when Deputy Reggie Gosser noticed a suspicious vehicle.
It all started with the car was possibly out of gas at the BP on Sunday afternoon. When Deputy Gosser arrived, he ran the tags and they were dead. So he took the tags off the car and parked it. About dark, the owner of the car and a female subject showed back up with a trailer, pulled it with a Dodge Durango and loaded the car and left. Later on, we heard that they were possibly pulling a stolen trailer around, but we never could locate a trailer. About 2:30 a.m. Sunday morning, Steve Montgomery pulled the Durango over. It had a lot of damage in the back end of it, and he ended up impounding it. Monday, he called me, and I was out trying to locate the trailer, and I found the trailer with a pickup truck on it. I had that impounded, yet not knowing who owned it. And about 8 o'clock Monday night, I got a call from Jeff Bailey, owner of Bailey's Carpet and Hardware, tell me he had a trailer missing. I told him I possibly had it. He went to the impound yard, Ricky Joe Sayers, and identified his trailer, and then we just went to putting the pieces together, and we were able to track them into Breathitt County, trading the car for the pickup. We got statements from people there, video from the BP, and other statements. So Deputy Montgomery obtained warrants yesterday, and they were arrested last night by several officers, city, state, county. Deputy Gosser was there.
And that investigation led authorities late last night, early this morning technically, to Route 30, where they made an arrest. Magafa County Sheriff's Department, as well as Sayersville City police officers Jeremy Watson and Tracy Salyer, Trooper Ryan Hill of the Kentucky State Police, Reggie Gosser of the Magafa County SO, and possibly some others as well, all ended up on scene. Ryan Hale notes in his police citation, for example, that he went along with officers to the residence on Route 30 in an attempt to make contact with Michael Barnett and Elizabeth Rivers, who both had active warrants on them for receiving stolen property or related to the theft of the trailer and other items that you just heard Montgomery detail. Hale notes that he made contact with a Carol Gray, however, at the residence, in front of the home actually, and she told authorities that it was her home, though it wasn't the address listed on her operator's license. Police informed her who they were and that they were there because Michael and Elizabeth both had warrants on them, and Gray stated that they weren't there, and she said that Michael hadn't been there in at least a month and that he lived in Johnson County with Elizabeth. At that time, Trooper Hale notes that he heard Officer Watson issuing verbal commands to a subject behind the residence, behind the home, and then he ran to assist him. And when he did, he made contact with Michael Barnett and a Tommy Minix, who had fled out the back door of the home and were trying to run into the woods behind it. It was there that authorities located several knives, 2 loaded handguns, and various illegal or illicit drugs and paraphernalia, all recovered from the possession of the two or in with the immediate vicinity of the two men. This photograph and police citations detail some of the items that were found. You can see several knives, the handgun, and a great deal of drugs, and several $100s in cash. I believe about $700 total in cash, as well as a green bag inside about 31 30-milligram OxyContin, a host of other different kinds of drugs, morphine, Xanax, and the list goes on and on. In all, 29-year-old Michael Barnett of Boone's Camp was charged with fleeing and evading in the first degree on foot, trafficking a controlled substance in the first, possession of drug paraphernalia, public intoxication, drugs, not alcohol, criminal mischief in the first, and receiving stolen property under $10,000. 31-year-old Tommy Minix of Salyersville was charged with fleeing or evading police on foot in the first, trafficking a controlled substance in the first, drug paraphernalia, to be in possession of, public intoxication of drugs, resisting arrest, carrying a concealed deadly weapon, and criminal mischief in the second. 47-year-old Carol Gray, who is the mother of Michael Barnett, whose residence it was on Route 30, was charged by Trooper Hale of the Kentucky State Police with hindering in the second degree for lying to authorities about the whereabouts of the two they were searching for, failure to notify of an address change,
possession of a controlled substance in the first degree, possession of a controlled substance in the second degree, and possession of drug paraphernalia. And 25-year-old Elizabeth Rivers, who also goes by Elizabeth Sword, the girlfriend of Michael Barnett, with a Boone's Camp address, was charged with criminal mischief in the first degree and receiving stolen property under $10,000.
A violent car crash on Route 40 just earlier this afternoon has sent one woman to the hospital via ambulance. She would have been life-flighted had weather permitted, but due to the cloud cover and the weather conditions in the area and in between their location and ours and or an ultimate trauma center, they were unable to fly, and that being all life flight medical services across the board. Nevertheless, this was the scene that emergency personnel responded to, and as I understand it was actually a motorist who first came upon the scene, and hearing the call come into and being in close proximity, one of the earliest people to arrive was also Buck LeMaster, Magistrate Buck LeMaster, also of LeMaster's towing service, who had the vehicle pulled off of the lady who was partially ejected just upon or just before arrival of first responders in the Magoffin County Rescue Squad.
This was the scene shortly before 4 o'clock upon arrival of emergency personnel and others. I spoke to a motorist off camera, and he told me that he was behind the vehicle or very near to it when the accident happened. And once 911 was called, EMS personnel, rescue, and others were dispatched. It was also upon hearing that call of emergency that Magistrate Buck LeMaster arrived in his record. The vehicle had the woman who was partially ejected, a Jeep Liberty. She was pinned, at least a portion of her arm was pinned beneath the vehicle. He was able to attach to the vehicle and lift it off of her just enough to where she was no longer pinned beneath. The Magoffin County Rescue Squad, upon arrival, spent several moments removing a portion of the roof of the vehicle to try to extricate her safely. She did suffer serious, and we do believe, life-threatening injuries as a result. No other cars were involved. We're just told that she simply went off the roadway, went up onto the embankment, and the vehicle overturned. She was partially ejected. Even though she was wearing her seatbelt, she had to be cut from her seatbelt, but her arm was thrown out the driver's side window. The vehicle actually matches the description of a reckless driver, which was called into the Magoffin County Sheriff's Department. That's not been confirmed as of yet. Deputies were seen removing alcohol and other items from the vehicle, I can confirm. She was taken by ambulance to an area hospital, would have been life-flighted had weather permitted. Her condition at this hour, once again, still unknown, but once again believed to have suffered life-threatening injuries, certainly serious at the least. The accident remains under investigation by the Magoffin County Sheriff's Department.
Experience all your kids could ever need. Hope Family Medical Center's already incredible team of pediatricians, Dr. Tasha Russell and Dr. Tiffany Mills, and their staff are all proud to announce the newest member of their family, Dr. Leslie Ann Dodson, who, along with all the other doctors and providers, are at your disposal Mondays through Thursdays, 8 until 7:30 and until 5:30 on Fridays, where we hope you'll join us in welcoming pediatrician Leslie Ann Dodson, while we welcome you to complete family health care head to toe at Hope Family Medical Center in Salyersville.
Well, here I am just trying to get the news on and not even being able to get all the news on that I have for now, and looking ahead to news that I have in store for you early next week. Just to pass it along, the Salyersville City Council has called their meeting for Monday, a regular session meeting. Several items on the agenda. A second vote on ordinance setting their meeting time, as well as a couple of presentations before the City Council. They're also going to adjourn into executive session to discuss the disposition of some property and filling vacancies on some various city boards and commissions. And the Magoffin County Fiscal Court has already called their regular meeting. They are now, of course, having their first meeting after resetting their new meeting time, and this will be this coming Tuesday. It's the I believe third Tuesday of the month, as it will fall 1 o'clock in the afternoons. Now, much earlier, they're going to discuss the jail budget, budget amendment, county roads, several items on their agenda as well. That's Monday and Tuesday of next week. Council at 7, fiscal court at 1 on Tuesday. And I just got this in, and I'm not even sure where it came from. Possibly the judge's office. I'm not quite for certain. Nevertheless, there is a free, as it says right there, a free, kids free, I guess, Star Family Circus that's coming up at the Lloyd M. Hall Community Center this Sunday, apparently. Here in Salyersville this Sunday, the 19th, 3 to 6 for 3 hours. The Star Family Circus. Adults get in for $12. Students 13 to 17 get in for $6, and I guess those under 13 get in for free. Acrobats, daredevils, aerialists, jugglers, and more. You can also see your favorite cartoon character as well. A few other announcements and a few obituaries as we turn to some other local listings.
A few class reunions to speak of. First, a reunion meeting, actually. Their final reunion meeting, making plans for the class of 67 of the Sayersville High School. They're going to meet this coming Monday at your Sayersville Lee's Famous Recipe, and they hope that all classmates will attend and join them for their last planning meeting, if all goes well, that is, for the class of 67 from the Sayersville High School. And the Sayersville High School all-class reunion, their second annual, as they had their first last year, has been set for May the 27th. If you have any questions, call Linda Salyer Miller at 349-4441 or Kathy Elam Borders at 349-2335. It's 3 in the afternoon to 10:30 that night at North McGoffin. Again, they've got a big night planned. Wanted to make sure you had plenty of time to mark it on your calendar. That's for all classmates of any and all years from the Sayersville High School. And if you've got announcements like this, I've got a few more for early next week, actually for late next week that I can hold. So one quick reminder, if you do have announcements like this, birthdays and anniversaries too, mail, email, Facebook, phone, fax, drop them off here at the studio any way you can get them and get them to us, and I'll tell everybody about it. And you can get programming after the fact on our website at yournewstoday.com or our YouTube channel at Your News Today by Ritt Mortimer. Turning to funeral service announcements, a service provided by our friends at the McGoffin County Funeral Home, as always. A reminder of services to be held this Sunday at 2 in honor of 69-year-old Gary Jenkins of May Branch here in McGoffin County, survived by his wife Stella, sons Jeffrey and Nikki Fletcher, and daughter Amanda Salyer. Visitation is the rest of this evening, all day tomorrow, and prior to Sunday's services, all from the McGoffin County Funeral Home. And sadly tonight, announcing the passing of a friend, Kearney Howard, at the age of 87, passed away earlier today in Richmond. Arrangements are incomplete at this time, being made by the family, and to be announced soon. You can find them over the course of the weekend from the McGoffin County Funeral Home. Once again, in honor of 87-year-old Kearney Howard.
Sitting Johnson County Grand Jury returned several indictments this week, the majority of which I will have to hold off until next week. I had that report in the works just before being called out on that auto accident on Route 40 that I covered a few moments ago. However, there is one indictment that I've already referred to that has, since I referred to it, resulted in an arrest.
It goes back to a report that I ran earlier this week and back to the drowning death of 15-year-old Luke Cottle in the Paintsville Lake on April the 8th of 2016. We did a follow-up I did earlier this week about an indictment released Wednesday, returned by Johnson County Grand Jury related to the death of Cottle. The Kentucky State Police has conducted a rather lengthy investigation since the teenager's death, and it resulted in a case being brought before the grand jury and a subsequent indictment against 20-year-old Michael Pennington of Van Leer. I can't say that he was arrested, as I referred to at the top of the report. It's unclear per court records that I have whether he turned himself in to authorities or was arrested, but he was lodged in the Big Sandy Regional Detention Center as of 6:32 this morning on a count of unlawful transaction in the first degree with a victim less than 16 years old. That is a Class B felony punishable by 10 to 20 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. The grand jury charges that on April the 8th, Pennington committed the offense of unlawful transaction with a minor in the first when he knowingly and unlawfully induced or assisted or caused Cottle, who was 15 years of age at the time, to engage in illegal activity involving a controlled substance. We know nothing more about the investigation, what drugs were said to have been involved, or any other details, but just that the indictment was returned earlier this week, and Pennington has since been jailed on an ordered $20,000 cash bond. And I'm going to close up tonight with your Licking Valley RACC forecast and a few remarks, I guess, to follow. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get the show together and on. Forgot to pass that along. We've seen some green on the radar today, so if you weren't wearing it, you can claim that. Nevertheless, we do expect to see some scattered showers continue. I just do not have time to go over to the radar. Nothing heavy, just your run-of-the-mill showers continuing up until about 1. Cloudy skies and a low of right around 44 degrees tonight, and that's not that low. Tomorrow for your Saturday, here's your weekend staring at you. I think we'll see a 10% chance of those lingering showers up until about 7. Otherwise, clouds will part, skies will clear. The sun makes a return tomorrow to the tune of 50 degrees, 52 maybe even, on your Saturday with winds out of the west, maybe 7 to 23 mile per hour gusts early, and then maybe 6 to 16 mile per hour gust by tomorrow night, still blustering about. As for your Sunday, temperatures dip a bit, take a bit of a hit, but still partly sunny, dry, clear, and calm. A lighter wind out of the northwest, maybe 3 to 5, 49 and 31 for your high and low on Sunday. A quick look ahead, Monday 63 and a slight chance of some showers early, but a great chance late. Thursday, a wet one and 55. Wednesday, sunny and right around the 50-degree mark.
That's going to wrap it up for tonight. I'm already working on a couple of stories, one of which you'll certainly want to be here for next week as soon as we can get all the information gathered about a situation that happened on the Mountain Parkway last night that really turned out as best as possible. Indictments from Johnson County that we're holding off till next week just due to the time constraints that I faced today. And a whole lot of other news and information along with what we hope will be an exciting weekend for Kentucky basketball. For now, thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful Friday night. Hope you stay awake, catch the end of the game, and hope to see you back here Monday for more of your news today.